On the other end of things, I think PFL has a pretty damn good show, all things considered, next week. On the prelims, you have, gosh, I don't know how to pronounce his name, David Machad. There you go. Yeah. Nice name over there. Larissa Pacheco, UFC veteran, who a lot of people thought would be something. He wasn't. But the main card, there's a lot I'm excited about. Joe or James, I know you're familiar with Chris Curtis. He's a local here who has since moved. He's taking on Lewis Taylor. This is a big, big fight for Chris Taylor. You know as well as I do, he's nonstop on social media. Why am I not in the UFC and this guy's in the UFC? He's getting maybe a better chance here, considering the fact that he retired like a year ago. If he walks away with $1 million, that could ease the pain a little bit.
I agree. Best case scenario for Chris Curtis, gets to fight on ESPN. This is better than being in the UFC. And here's the thing too. I mean, I think it's a better scenario for him. If he was in the UFC, he'd probably be on the prelims. He's on ESPN with PFL in the main event. It doesn't get any better than that. And actually, both these guys got snubbed by the UFC. If you remember, I got to look this up. I forget which fight it was, but Lewis Taylor was supposed to fight Uriah Hall ages ago, and he couldn't. I think he got injured or something. Oh yeah, here's what happened. 2015. So UFC Fight Night 59, Lewis Taylor was supposed to fight Uriah Hall on short notice. He got a back injury. UFC never kept him around. And that's when he went to World Series of Fighting. So, and you look at the career he's had. I mean, this is a guy who's 39 years old, and he won $1 million last year in the middleweight tournament, making the drop to welterweight for this fight. Very interesting matchup. Two really good guys. And you mentioned Chris Curtis. I actually spoke to him. He is actually in Las Vegas right now training out there. So he switched camps up. He's actually using the PI. I kind of joked at him. I was like, is this your way of getting back at the UFC, is using that guest pass at the PI? And he sort of laughed about that. But no, good for him. I think this is such a good fight and a UFC level fight, in my opinion. I mean, if people want to disagree with me, that's fine. But this is a very, very good fight for PFL to kick things off.
Ray Cooper, who's been a standout for PFL against Zane Kamaka. You have John Howard against Magomed Karamov. Yeah. Wow. But the two fights I'm particularly interested in, Kayla Harrison in action against Svetlana Katova, a 2-0 fighter, but it's the Kayla Harrison show. That's what a lot of people tune in because of Kayla Harrison. And Joe, Sarah Kaufman taking on a woman who has 5 pro fights. That could be tragic.
Unless Morgan Freer comes up with a lot of speed and starts peppering Sarah Kaufman, I don't like her chances, to be honest with you. I think Sarah Kaufman walks away with this one here. I'm happy with Ray Cooper III as well. He's a good guy. But I think I do agree with you. First of all, James, Lewis Taylor versus Chris Curtis. I'm sort of 50-50 on it being an actual UFC caliber fight, because my mentality is, when I still think, I go back to 97, 96, when it was called the Super Bowl of MMA. But it is a quality fight. It's a solid main event. I'll give you that. But Sean, I think you're right. It's Kayla Harrison show. It's going to be a good scrap here. We'll see how her development continues and what her evolution looks like.
That show takes place, I think it's next week, but I figured we'd get the jump on it.
It's a day after. Yeah, it's a day. I think it's on the 9th, actually. So it's a day after our show, I think next week or whatever, unless my math's wrong here or something like that. Just one quick thing. This Ray Cooper fight, I got to mention, is very interesting. Joe, you know Zane Kamaka, he fought in Titan. Yep. They're cousins. And actually Ray Cooper cannot stand Zane Kamaka. There's this whole thing with his family. They're both from Hawaii. So Ray Cooper is apparently Zane Kamaka is the black sheep of the entire family. And so this is super personal. I've interviewed Ray Cooper a couple times. He was so pissed off at Zane Kamaka, and he's like, I asked for this fight. He's ruining my family's name, all this stuff. Tune into that fight. That fight's going to be awesome because, like I said, we've seen Ray Cooper is, for the most part, a pretty respectful, quiet guy. He was pissed off at Zane, and he's like, this guy's so unranked. He's overhyped because he trains with Max Holloway. He's like, I'm going to show this guy he's so unskilled. Blah blah blah. It's going to be a really good fight.